All right. Hello. Welcome to Well-Resourced Woman. I am so excited to take you through this experience and this learning journey today with you. I am Dr. Jessica Goyke. If you do not already know me, I'll introduce myself briefly. I live in Bend, Oregon. I have a lovely 2.5-year-old son. I love being outside. I'm a creative and curious person in general, and I'm trained professionally as a vitalistic chiropractor. I have, through that training, gravitated towards nervous system work and healing. And the reason why, and I would argue maybe the reason why we find a lot of things in our life is because we need them ourselves most. A quote I recently heard was, we're led to transformation through desperation or inspiration. And I think that's a little bit of a mixed bag that led me to nervous system healing myself. As a younger girl, a teenager, I suffered with a lot of anxiety and body discomfort and tension that I did not know that it could be any different way than it was. I grew up feeling that way, and I literally did not know that maybe other people elsewhere were having different experiences than me. I thought it was the way that it was, and I didn't know there was anything I could do to have a different experience. Fast forward many years, I look back on that today, and I'm just so grateful for the information that I learned along the way, the teachers that I've had that have really showed me how accessing and healing and integrating through my nervous system could change so much of that. One of the biggest things I think of today too, is standing here in front of you, is I always, ever since I was a little girl, dreamed of helping people, making the world a better place. But for so long, that anxiety, the thoughts, the just feeling so tense in my body, so nervous, I would never be able to imagine myself showing up in front of a group like you back when I was a younger girl. Because of that anxiety and tension, I now can actually access and like live out my dreams because of the healing that this journey has taken me through. So it leads me full circle to be here today in front of you and to give you access to the well-resourced woman within you, the woman within you who has dreams and has things she'd like to do. And maybe it starts with feeling better within first. So before we get started, this is a different container. This is an online spacing container today. And I like to just say I hold that very seriously. It is a safe container. You might feel uncomfortable at times when we go through some of the experiences and exercises. You're in a safe space, and let yourself have that experience. This may be new. You may be more well practiced in work like this, and it may not feel that new, but I still just want you to know that I hold that container, and us together, we get to co-regulate together. We get to just showing up together. We get to open our perception to what we believe maybe is possible for us. And maybe it just gets to be a little bit easier today because we're doing it together. So that all being said, you get to take home what resonates with you and leave the rest. So thank you for that. And stay with me to the end. If this does resonate with you and you'd like to do more work like this, I will have a special offer for you. And if you don't already have like a notebook, a pen, or paper with you, you might want to grab that. It's up to you. I want you to be present, and there's going to be a lot of experiential portions to today, but I also want you to be able to take home what you want. You'll get the recording as well, so you can revisit this. So let's start with when I was doing this workshop and just asking folks about, like, what does well-resourced woman mean to you? I got this whole list, and I thought it was really great. So I have it here with me today of essentially words, and you get to fill in the blank and add your own as well. But strong, soft, resilient, joyful, rested, centered, compassionate, without judgment, trusting, discerning. These were some of the words I got to describe the well-resourced woman that either you can access and feel within yourself, or that you'd like to be. And if you've worked with me before, you've heard I talk about life on a spectrum a lot, and really the idea that we're going to move all across the spectrum of life, and life's going to take us different places, but we can kind of think of like that well-resourced woman as maybe the goal that we'd like to be more of the time. And then what are the things that are kind of motivating us for change? They may be that discomfort within our body. They can be that that desperation piece that I mentioned in the beginning, the things that maybe make us feel stuck or blocked, the things that we know if we could transcend that, we'd be a more potent version of ourselves. So I had a little list of that too, based on what you all shared with me. And I got stressed, overwhelmed, worried, judgmental, exhausted, chronic pain, anxious, tension. I'm familiar with some of those myself personally. And really, like I said, that spectrum of kind of like where we might exist throughout our life can be seen, from one end to another, everywhere in between, beyond, and other sides that we don't even have access to. And really, how and where we show up on that spectrum is related to our nervous systems and how well we are processing life. So what I mean by that is our nervous system is literally our processing system. We take in information through our senses every moment of every day, and we've been doing that since we were developing in our mother's womb. So you might think of sight, smell, taste, touch. Those are really common. That's our sense organs, right? They're how we're perceiving the world around us. And our body perceives these things as, okay, we're doing something physical. We're doing, it's a mental experience. It's the voice in my head. Emotional, it's the feelings I get when I'm in this situation. Chemical, it's information that I'm picking up through my food or my environment. May not be able to see it. And then there's like our intuition too, right? That gut response. That's all how we perceive information coming in. And when our body really just speaks, our body doesn't actually know, like categorize that like we do. Our body just perceives it as energy coming in, and it says, hey, can I process this or can I not? Can I, process, grow, and learn from this? Or is it going to actually weigh me down and kind of hold me back? So one of the things, let me draw this really quick to get you seeing the nervous system on a very simple level. The nervous system is our brain communicating to our body. B to B. I'm not spelling it out for you today because I want you to be able to see it. So brain talking to body, right? And that nervous system, like I said, is taking in all those experiences. Physical, mental, emotional, chemical. And our nervous system, like we said, is just taking that in as energy. It's like a wide variety of experiences are coming in, and it just speaks the language of, can I process that or can I not? And our nervous system has a bandwidth, which is really our processing capacity. So it's basically saying, hey, that walk that I did, that meal that I had with a friend, that book that I read, or that great movie, these are all things that I process really well. They're within my bandwidth, within my processing capacity. The body takes in that information, it adapts to it through the nervous system, and it basically moves us, grows us into more and more connected with this direction. So it's almost like every experience we have, we either grow and evolve from it, or what will happen is when we have something outside of that bandwidth, it can be small. It can be your everyday, like the way someone honked at you when you merged out into the freeway, or the list you had in your head today, the long list of to-dos. It could be something larger. It could be the transition that you had in over the last few years. It could be the change of a job, the loss of a loved one, a traumatic experience you went through, an accident or an injury. The body really reads that the same. It basically says, with that information, I would really like to be able to grow and evolve from it, but I don't have the capacity to do that fully right now. So what the body is going to do with that information is it's basically going to take it and it's going to store it and house it in the body. And it's going to house it as patterns of tension. So you may have heard this or read or be familiar with the book that says the body keeps score. That's really exactly what's happening. The body basically remembers and holds on to our experiences. And even when we integrate them, they are a part of our being. So the difference is when we have an experience that we have integrated, we might be able to look back and maybe feel a sense of gratitude towards that. Might just feel peaceful, calm, just not really have much emotional charge towards it. Be able to say, like, I graduated from this high school, this college, etc. It's a very just factual, it's just news. And then the information that our body hasn't processed, this builds on, and it basically has a different tone to it. Its unprocessed information will basically shape and change our perceptual lens and how we view the world. So it can be physical. It can be physical tension that literally, doesn't allow us to be as flexible in life. It might impact our organ systems and how our body functions and not allow those to function as well as they could and should. It can also influence how we view the world, both mentally and emotionally. It can shape us having a more negative viewpoint of the world or feeling jaded because of an experience that we've had. And that is really a telltale sign that there's still information stored within our nervous system to be processed and integrated. I would argue that to some degree, we may all have some of that. It's kind of like how much is built on there is really going to impact where we show up here. So the more information built up on that perception system, the more the nervous system kind of gets clogged. It's like not able to do its job as effectively at processing and keeping us up here. It gets clogged and we start to move this way. And that means essentially we show up as like a lower vibration expression of ourselves, meaning we're going to experience more and more of these states. And our body is going to protect us by reducing our bandwidth for life. And this is part of our intelligent body's design. This is a normal stress response that if we have a lot on our plate to be processed and integrated, no matter what category it's in, the body is going to say, hey, I've got to reduce your capacity, give you a little less so that you can process and heal what's built up. And the idea in design is that, naturally, we do that through sleep every night. We do that through moving our bodies. And what I have noticed is that in our world, we are bringing in more information than ever, potentially more stressful information than, generations past. And our nervous system bandwidth hasn't quite upgraded to keep up with that. So what I have seen is that it really takes applying and learning and making it your own strategies and like practical tools to mitigate the life and the stress that's coming at us, and the fact that our world is just not very conducive to living a calm and centered life. So we sort of have to do a little more to mitigate that stress and that building up. And what the body what we might perceive as stressful can be different than what the body perceives as stressful. So I want you to hear that too, that even good things coming in when you have a reduced capacity might actually feel stressful and might actually trigger you to like go into a cycle of exhaustion. And you might be really confused by that, but it's the idea that our body really is trying to communicate with us and has like a recipe and where it's at and how to move out of that cycle. And we need to kind of learn its language. And that's something that this is really going to help us with today. If you do not have to draw this out right now. And if you're not a visual person, you do not have to at all, but I encourage you to potentially draw this so you can revisit and understand it as you kind of layer on more information today as we go. The whole goal today is to help us to start to process more of that information that's built up, and to also help to basically set in motion new neural pathways that allow us to operate from here more often. I would argue that when we're operating down here, and that every single one of us is going to operate there at some point in our lives. Maybe you've been there in the past. Maybe you can identify with it. Maybe you feel like you're there now. Maybe there's just parts of you there that just feel like they're holding you back, and the rest of you is mostly hanging out up here. Wherever you are, I'm going to argue that we're all going to experience that at some point in our life. And it's actually a gift that you are either here today or have been there, because it's the motivator that's going to help you learn how to move out of it. Instead of, if I never learned these tools and teenage Jessica just continued on her life path, I felt like I would have just slowly drifted that way and thought like, this is just the way life is. Like it just gets crappier as it goes, with lack of a better word for it. And that's not the way it has to be. So I want you to see that if you're struggling with that at all, that it's a gift. You have a lot of potential for shifting and turning that around and changing that. So feel free to borrow me as an example if you're not believing that yet. I would love to be your example. And Okay, hold on, I'm refreshing in my notes. So yes, what we're really going to do today is help with the neural patterns that kind of keep us down here. One way we can think of this is kind of like this side of the spectrum. This might be where our body is in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And it can also be where we experience symptoms, so physical symptoms. I think of these as our body's check engine light. When we have these things running in the background or they're present for us, they are our body's indicator that we're moving away from the centered, balanced place. Life is not perfect up here, but we have a high level of adaptability or resilience to come back to center. When we're down here, it's almost like we're stuck. We're not really back into center. These things are kind of our indicators that we're moving away from center. So I really want you to think of this like picture as just a way to kind of identify where am I feeling, where are parts of me, maybe not always down here, what's hanging out here, what's hanging out here, and getting more of a sense for our well-resourced woman and maybe where we're at today. Our nervous system being that driving force that's going to move us along here. And what's basically going to happen is as we learn to help the nervous system move in this direction and reduce some of the burden that it's holding, our nervous system bandwidth is one, it's going to restore. And this could be, restoring to a place where you just have more capacity to process what's coming in on an everyday basis. That's usually the first step. Some of you might already sort of be there, but you're looking to like open that capacity even more. In my own personal journey, I most definitely needed to restore the bandwidth before I could think further about, like I said, some of my bigger dreams and things in life. Once that restores, it can open even more. And what that can do is it can really allow us the extra capacity to really heal through the like core, like if you think of these as onion layers of what's built on, some of those core layers there. And those most often are things that have experiences we've had in the first 7 years of our life that came on, and they really shape who we are as a person. It's no right or wrong, and it's not about feeling bad about what you went through. It's just like understanding that they're really going to shape us. And when we have a more open bandwidth, we can have the deeper capacity to heal through and shift and change the ones that maybe are not serving us in the moment. So that picture, I drew that for you, like I said, because I really want you to understand where you're at. I hope it gives you a little more perspective on the bigger picture too, that it's not just like we flip off the switch there, or we're always over here and it's perfect. Like it's really fluctuating and we're moving at all times. So we'll come back to that. I want to start with sharing some exercises to signal safety within your nervous system. So the whole point of this is that our nervous systems cannot be in a fight, flight, or freeze, like a stress response, and a rest or a heal response at the same time. So the more that we're able to signal safety within the body, the less this patterning is going to keep running. So it's almost like this first idea is another word for it is coherence. And coherence is a state where our body can heal and can basically wire in its neural patterning to be in that healing mode more of the time. And it's kind of like, I think of it like playing a song. Like I'm not always going to be there. And sometimes that stress response helps me get out the door or it helps me show up in a certain way to a task I need to get done. But I want to be able to make sure I'm also in that resting and healing state. So it's like, I'm going to push play on that song, and I'm going to do that really intentionally, because if I just go live my life, there's a lot of things that could keep me in stress mode. So I've got to like carve out the time, and it can be really simple. So I'm going to show you some of those. And nervous system healing tools that signal safety in the body, they can feel really subtle. If you've been doing them or done some before, you might feel like an impact today of what we're doing. And if you haven't, I encourage you to keep practicing. Maybe pick one to keep practicing and let that feeling and experience build for you, because it takes some time to really like develop a relationship with what nervous system healing really feels like. And it also, sometimes when we go there, it builds up that initial resistance we have to like actually showing up and kind of slowing down and resting. And that's super common and super normal. So if that's you and you have that resistance, do your best to like hold your hand through it and just say, I'm doing this for 5 minutes and then I'll try again tomorrow. So that's how I'm going to start it with you. The first one, and this is a tool that you always have, and you can practice this pretty much anywhere because no one's going to notice you're doing it if you feel a little self-conscious at first. It's using your breath. So we're going to do it together. You're welcome to breathe in with me or close your eyes if you'd like to. But it's really the idea of like extending, slowing your breath, and then letting your exhale be slightly longer than your inhale. So I'm going to introduce just a 5-count inhale, 7-count exhale breath to begin. And I will count with you for the first 2, and then I'll do 2 more myself, and then we'll add a couple layers to this. So I'm going to have you, when you're ready, exhale, and then inhale to a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You could continue doing that for a couple minutes, but you can literally do 3 of those and feel a shift in your nervous system. Another piece you can add to that, or you can do this on your own, is to just close your eyes with me for a second. And I want you to imagine you could feel gravity. So that might feel like a heaviness in your feet, feeling your bones heavy, maybe where they meet gravity and at each joint, feeling your arms hanging down by your sides and your shoulders hanging down, feeling how you're holding your head up, and just letting like the tissue on your bones sink down, rest, relax with gravity. Okay, and then I'm going to invite you to bring the backside of your hands to your low rib cage. So it's right on your backside. It's like your mid back. You might feel your ribs, or you might just bring your hands to your mid back and just breathe into that area. So feel your hands come out a little bit as you breathe in. When I start doing this, I notice my whole low back down to my hips and my buttocks relax. And I just feel my whole body start to soften as I breathe into that low rib area with my hands there. Once again, just a few breaths there can make a shift, and you can do it for a little longer to build on that sensation. The third one, this is going to be a little different. So your first 2, those are kind of more of like the relaxing, calming. You can do them any place, anytime. And then the third one I'm going to introduce to you is shaking. You know, I was going to say something called shaking. You know what shaking is. It's just really goofy and silly to do, and you got to feel like comfortable doing it. So it's great. Shaking, dancing, any of that can really help the nervous system. And I want you to do something with me that's kind of goofy for a second. You're going to take your hands, and I want you to take your right hand and just shake it like as hard as you can. It's hard for me to do it while you can see it on the camera, but shake your hand as hard as you can for a few more moments with me. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it as hard as you can, and then let go. And like feel the difference between your 2 hands. Wow. I mean, I can like see this one just melting away. Do it to the other hand. Shake it as hard as you can. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Move it into your whole arms. I might lose my headphones. I shake as hard as I want to here. And then, move it into your shoulders. Move it into your hips. Shake your hips and your legs and your buttocks. Shake your arms up high, your head. You can't see my legs, but they're going. You can lift up your legs. You can like tap them like a football player. just shaking that whole body out. Oh, that one, do that for a few minutes and just like relax after. And what that's like, it's almost like the animal that, if you saw a gazelle running from a zebra, after, if they escape and they are still alive, they're going to shake off that stress and just release it from their whole body. And they're not going to continue to hold on. They're just going to move on with their day and their life versus like, think of like the humans and us that are going through many little micro experiences like that. We're never shaking it off. We're just holding it on and becoming more stiff and just holding to it. So shaking is one way to help our body release that. And tends to be one that I really notice the feeling afterwards if I allow myself to do that fully. The fourth one is like making a sound or humming. I like humming a lot. It can be as simple as humming your favorite tune or singing, but you can make it really simple if you're not super comfortable with that. You just hum a note, and you can do it with me. And what you're doing with humming is you're activating that vagus nerve, which is part of the parasympathetic nervous system. It's once again going to switch off that fight, flight, or freeze and get you operating more in that rest and digest healing state. And two more, tapping. There's a whole type of tapping that you can learn called emotional freedom technique. I love to keep it simple and invite you to bring just your hand to your sternum, which is your breastbone. It's right here beneath the collarbones. And you're just going to tap on that space. And that same tapping is also activating the vagus nerve, which runs right through there. And it's basically calming, again, your nervous system, signaling safety, which means you're creating that coherence and you're allowing your body to clear more space, to get into a healing space, to turn off the stress response. You're literally going to bathe your cells in this feel-good experience when you do more of these exercises to signal safety. And the difference there is when you're bathing your cells in a coherent state, they're actually going to build more health over time. And instead, if we're always in our fight, and freeze state, our cells are literally bathing in stress hormones, and they're going to like prematurely age and degenerate just by what they're bathing in. So just another idea of what this really is doing whole body. And the last one I have for you on this little list is putting your legs at the wall, which I will not be able to show you right now, but you would lay on your back and you'd put your legs at the wall. They can be at a little angle or they can be like straight up, just depending on how your body feels comfortable doing that. And basically just hanging out there for, I would say, like 3 minutes and doing the slower breathing, and literally the blood flow is going to shift that state in your nervous system, and it's going to bring you into a more relaxed state. That is one of my favorite ones for when I'm feeling resistant to slowing down or doing any sort of shift, or if I'm just feeling like overwhelmed by something. It is just such a profound shift that I really can't like argue myself out of doing it or feeling it. It's just very potent. So that's my last one I'm going to give you for now in terms of signaling safety. You might want to make a list or come back and revisit those. And just a reminder that it's every time we're signaling safety, we're like digesting a little more of that stored information that's built up, and we're firing, like we said, more programs in our nervous system for that to be more of the new normal, to be able to be in that state more of the time. So it's like the more we can do it, the better. Do I want you to start doing 1 million of these all day long? No, I want you to start with something you feel like you can do. So it's like picking one of these and focusing on it once a day. If you already do that, it might be like introducing one that's new, or introducing it before you go and do something that you know is going to bring you potentially into that stress state. So they're all allowing us and helping us with that whole piece of coming back into balance when life throws us off. Let's see. The next thing that I'm going to take you through is kind of switching gears into emotional metabolism. So this is a little bit of something I talked about when I was introducing this course, is like the idea that in our world, we have pretty much all been taught to some degree to not feel what we're feeling. Maybe it was like as a school kiddo, sit down, like, or don't cry from your friends. Don't feel that way, or from your parents. Just be a good girl and be quiet, whatever you were told, that programming that we kind of have that told us like to not really feel what we're feeling. And I want you to think of it this way. It's like every time we've ever stuffed down our emotion, like maybe we felt like we were about to cry, or we were embarrassed, or blushing but like didn't want to say anything, think of it like a tab open on your computer. And it's like this idea that when we get to this state, we've like opened up so many tabs that we like have nothing left to give. And like our battery is going to drain so much quicker when we have that many tabs open. So it's just like really holding a lot of energy, keeping us from feeling what we're actually feeling. And this also goes to say that our nervous system doesn't know the difference between something that happened today and happened 10 years ago, happened yesterday, or like could happen in the future. Our nervous system is going to feel like it's happening right now if there's anything still there. So the idea of helping us metabolize some of our emotions that might be down beneath the surface is to clear those tabs and clear up some of the stored information in the body so we can naturally move more in this direction. Let's see, back to that idea that it can be the negative emotions that we experience in life. There's definitely like lower vibration emotions, shame, guilt, fear, anger, like things that are more like lower vibration. And there can be like really big emotions that can also need to be metabolized. And maybe we've been told at some point that we're like, you're too big, you're too much. That the same response can happen where we then like stuff that down and like put it somewhere else, and we avoid feeling it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's very much like, that's what I see a lot. We all have learned that like to a degree. I'm myself still learning to unpack that, like to notice where and when I do that, and then to go through these steps to actually metabolize it. So one of the most simple steps to do, and if you're feeling something come up right now and feeling uncomfortable with me even just talking about this, name how you're feeling. Name it. Write it down. Before I got in this call, I did the same thing. I was like, I feel nervous. I haven't taught live in a while. It's funny. I feel this nervousness. And as soon as I named it, I was like, oh, I'm excited. And it shifted really quick for me because I've been doing this work, and I don't necessarily expect it to be a big aha moment for you. But when you name it, it allows the body to start to move some of that. And emotions, another way to describe emotion is energy in motion. It's meant to move through us. It's meant to move through our bodies and to move out. And it's almost like when it gets stuck and it's not in motion, that's when we feel that tension. And that tension can manifest, like we said, as many different things. But let's just play with one of them. Maybe you have something that comes to mind when I say that. If you don't, put this one on your back burner and just close your eyes with me. And now that you've named that emotion or that feeling that you might be experiencing, just closing your eyes, relaxing the corners of your mouth, relaxing your eyebrows, the corners of your eyes, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your glutes, your belly, softening your body. And then make a sound. Make a sound, whatever comes out when you soften your body, to actually make a sound and move some of that. When we start to relax the tissues and the body, that energy can become motion again and move. So that's one noticing exercise you can do. And even that simple exercise right there will actually start to move and metabolize the emotions. And like, same with all the signaling safety things that I just mentioned to you. Like every time I'm doing something like that, you're closing some of the tabs. You can picture closing the tabs, creating a little more space, a little more energy, a little more bandwidth. So as you go about your day and you move forward, I want you to notice some event or something bring about an emotion that you feel. One step, step one might be just noticing, oh, wow, that caused an emotion. Step two might be like, oh, that emotion is, and name it, write it. Step three, noticing, what do I choose to do with it? Your first, if you're just starting this, it's going to be like, oh man, like there was an emotion I tucked away, or oh yeah, I felt something big and I watched myself like kind of freeze up. Just noticing, or I felt like really angry, but I felt like I couldn't share that with the person, whatever that was. Just noticing is the first step to bringing awareness to this and starting to shift and change how we view it. And then notice what you choose to do with it. If you're in a safe space and you feel comfortable by yourself or around that person, like soften your body and just let it move through you. If you do not feel like that's appropriate at the time, wait till you're in another space, go back to that feeling and allow yourself to go through that brief process. When we really feel an emotion, what I've learned is that it's meant to last about 90 seconds for our body and chemistry to fully metabolize an emotion. So does that always happen? No, because there are many layers that are linked to many different experiences in our lives, but giving ourselves even that 90 seconds to process through some of it is going to get you to close some tabs and take some steps forward. And then when it comes up again, it's not going to like explode because you never visited it in the first place. So another, just a reference, there's a book called Burnout. You may want to look into it. It's if that word feels like you. She goes through and just names, and we've already done some of these: breath, sound, movement, laughter, and tears are like her primary ways of metabolizing emotions. And we can think of them as like nervous system tools to process what's coming through and moving through us. And every time we do them, like we said, we're returning to safety. We're helping our body process a little better. We're getting to a higher frequency state in being, which influences our cells and our tissues. And it closes some of the tabs so that we can show up a little more present, a little more clear, a little more like our well-resourced self. So that is your emotional metabolism. And so far you have some tools to signal safety. And I'll kind of tell you how to put this together in a little formula at the end. And then your emotional metabolism. And then the last piece that we're going to do right now is our well-resourced woman activation. And it's a little exercise I'm going to take you through. And kind of the first step here is to, once again, don't hang out here all the day, but briefly visit the thing that you feel like maybe is holding you back, or the challenge you're having, or it could be a feeling. It could be as simple as like, I'm just feeling overwhelmed and stressed. I'm feeling this tension in my body. I'm feeling really down to myself. I'm feeling whatever it may be. What is holding you back? I'm feeling low self-worth. I'm feeling anxious. Identify your challenge, the thing that you feel like maybe is keeping you from being your well-resourced woman now or more of the time. And that's step one. This, by the way, activation was inspired by an exercise that I went through with Kate Northrup, and she's wonderful if you want to look into her too for additional nervous system support, and like women cyclical planning and working with your cycle. Wonderful resource, just so you have that one too. So once you have your challenge, I want you to bring it into your mind and ask yourself, what am I making this mean? What story am I telling myself about this challenge over and over and over and over? And some examples might be, it's always going to be this way. I am not good at healing. I'm not good enough. I cannot change. I can't handle more. What's the story that your mind is telling you about that challenge? Take that in for a moment. Like I said, don't hang out there all day. We're now going to shift and come into our bodies. Close your eyes. And we're going to use one of our exercises to signal safety within our body and our nervous system. So the one I'm going to take you through right now, and you can practice this with whichever one you choose to, but I'm going to have you feel gravity. Feel the weight in the ground holding you. Feeling your tissues soften on your bones and your shoulders drift down with gravity. Feeling a heaviness in your feet and just feeling how supported you are here. Right here, right now. Bring your hands to the low back and the low ribs. Bring in a few open, expansive breaths. Feeling the spaciousness that's created in your body, the softness. Feeling some ease and comfort and peace here. And then from this place, I'm going to ask you to reframe that story into one that's more supportive or undeniably true. This could be something like, I can heal, I am whole, I am worthy, I am supported surrounded by support that's both seen and unseen. I can let go. Everything has always worked out all right so far. And where do you feel that in your body? I want you to pick one that feels undeniably true. If there's any inkling of you that doesn't fully believe it, I want you to pick a different story. One that feels undeniably true. Could be as simple as I am okay right here, right now. And then where do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel? What do you feel? Can you pick a color that's associated with that feeling? Maybe you can describe some of the sensation that you're feeling. And then if you could associate a smell, you could imagine the most perfect smell to match that opening or lovely feeling, softening, releasing. What would it be? Just allowing yourself for a moment in your mind's eye to picture that color, that sensation, that feeling in every tissue and cell of your body, expanding out and as undeniably true as the gravity that is holding you and supporting you in this moment. This is the well-resourced woman within you. She's always here. You have access to her whenever you choose. Now think that new thought, that new story, and ask yourself, how would the version of me who knows this to be 100% true behave? What's one thing that she could do today, right now? What's one thing she could do today, right now, to act more in alignment with who she is? Taking that in, listening to her. It could be as simple as going for a walk today, feeling some feelings, doing some nervous system safety exercises. Might be a little hint in how you get to behave in your relationships, your workspace. Let her share with you, how can you behave more in alignment with that new thought? Returning to that color, that smell, that sensation in your body. feeling it one more time, just to really anchor it in. Remember that it's always here. And as you go into your day, I'm going to invite you to act this way as often as possible, as often as you remember, and to come back to that exercise as often as you like. You all have a you may join me back on call. You all have a well-resourced woman within you, even when you don't feel like it. Exercises like that can help us tap into her wisdom, and no matter where you are in the spectrum, tapping into your inner wisdom is always going to be the answer to your next step forward. So I hope that one was helpful today. Those are the tools that I've prepared for you today. You have a drawing to really understand where you are at, how and why we end up here, and how we can move forward, and really what our goal is to open up, digest, process, get ourselves into more coherent states of safety and of balance, open up, restore our bandwidth, and even revitalize our bandwidth for life. You have tools to signal safety within your body. You have an emotional metabolism exercise, and you have that well-resourced woman activation. And if you did not take notes, you can go back and revisit and write them down. But I really encourage you to look at all this and admit, like, this is a lot, especially if it's new. It's a lot. I really want you to pick one of those to focus on. So what one felt most potent to you or you're most curious about, pick one of them, and maybe even set a reminder in your calendar for like a week or 2 weeks from today to check back in and to focus on doing that one time a day. You know, if you already do something like that, maybe you're adding a little more. Maybe it's your morning and your evening. Basically, I want you to check back in with yourself and see, how is that going? You know, am I showing up for that daily? Is there a way that I could apply myself more? What am I doing a great job at? What is it changing for me? And this is inner work, I think, can always be in some ways the hardest work to show up for yourself, especially for women. A lot of times we've been shown to show up for everyone else first. When you do this work, you're going to shift how you can show up for others. You're going to shift who you are in the company of others. You're going to shift a lot of things. So it's one of those things that we might have to learn how to recalibrate to care for ourselves or to focus on this first. But it's possible. One thing I like to say too is, if you're a black and white thinker, you do not have to shift everything or do all of these things to make change. I literally want to encourage you to make what I call a 1% shift or 1% change on a daily basis, which is going to build sustainable momentum to actually change the neural patterns that are going on in your body. So it's even like all this built-up information that we might feel and experience. If we can shift 1% of that and get 1% more energy flowing through the nervous system, helping us process that daily experience, it's like that snowball effect. It's just going to gradually allow us to open and move in this direction. And then we're not going to have that rubber band effect of like, whoa, I tried to do so much, and then like, bing, something came up and I snap right back. So the idea is more gradual, slow, applying nervous system regulation. I love like starting with signaling safety, if that is new for you. If that's something you already do, then bring it in with that well-resourced woman activation, because that's like two combined, and it's helping you tap into that woman on a day-to-day basis and then taking action from there. And I encourage you, if you're a visual person, to revisit this image and use it to just give yourself a little check-in, because it's really hard to get anywhere. You think of the GPS, it's really hard to go anywhere if you don't have a current location. The map can't really make you directions if you don't know where you are. So I know that can be uncomfortable and hard sometimes to really drop in and actually identify, this is where I'm feeling today. I know for a long time it was really hard for me to identify like what was actually coming up for me, but it ultimately caused me to stop running an autopilot and stop just doing the same thing over and over and over, and to really start to witness, this is what's coming up for me today. So those are that's like your instruction manual for how to use this information. I am your resource, and please reach out to me if you have questions or I would love to hear your takeaways from today. And I'm essentially giving you that forward and would love to encourage you to continue to do nervous system work in some way or form or fashion, whether or not you resonate with my style of teaching or not. This is planting a seed to continue to help your nervous system to process and integrate, and that will help it naturally be able to process life better, which is going to help you feel better in your body. And on that note, if this was helpful to you, yay, and I hope it was. And then if you are like maybe myself many years ago, if you can feel like your old patterns or tendencies to like hold you back, and like your old habits or ways kind of creeping in, and you're like, I don't know how to really move forward with this information. That's why I created another program that I do called Lighten Your Load. I am your guide for 6 weeks in that program. It's self-paced. You can do it at your own pace, but you're going to get a weekly video and a weekly focus for like exactly what to focus on for that week. It's going to bring attention to every area of your life, how you move your body, how you're thinking mentally, how you fuel and nourish your body, your environment, in a week by week sort of fashion, where you're going to get essentially the information in a way that's digestible and that you can keep applying it. So that's one way if you want to take this work further and you'd like the support and the accountability that comes with continually looking at it. That's a 1 hour a week video with a focus, and it's really wonderfully supportive, and it really is just one way to take this information and keep applying it. Hold yourself there accountable and learn just so much more about how you can support your nervous system. So just as a thank you for being here today, if that does resonate with you, I will share that with you, and you can use a coupon code Well Resource Woman WRW150 to save $150 on that course. And you do not need to do that course if this is enough for you. So ultimately, I'm just here as support, and I would love to hear your takeaways from this course, and I hope it was of value of your time today. And I really just am honored to be part of your journey and part of your healing journey today. So I leave you with that, and we can transition with 3 breaths. So we've been doing, I think, bookmarking the things we do in the day can also help us better integrate all the information that we took in. So just allowing yourself to, once again, give yourself that long breath. 5 counts in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhaling 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for the last one. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I hope you have a wonderful day.